Yas Aspedia, hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I hope your day and your week are going very well so far. The NFL Week 13 is officially here, and I have a ton of great picks to go ahead and share with you guys. But first, as always, people, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it really does mean a ton to us. With a new day and a new week of NFL football comes new opportunities to go ahead and make some money. We have a special NFL week here because it is Thanksgiving week. We got 3 Thanksgiving games on Thursday. We got a Friday game. We got so much going on in this week's slate, guys. A really crazy and weird NFL slate, but a really fun one as well. And like I said, guys, I have a ton of picks. I have 16 single bets along with some parlays and teasers to go along. It's going to be a jam-packed video, so guys, lock in, get ready to go, grab your popcorn, get whatever you need because we are going to have a little bit of a longer video here than even our longer videos, how they always are, probably even longer than that in this week's video. So strap in, guys. We will have obviously time cards so you guys can jump along wherever you want. But 2 things before we dive into this video's picks. First off, we obviously have to recap how we did last week. But before even that, obviously it is Thanksgiving. It's obviously a time to reflect and give thanks. I just want to say to all of you guys, thank you very much all year long for supporting the channel, whether it be on this video series, on Ev's videos, on my other videos, whatever the case may be. I appreciate the support all year long. We had a little bit of a rough run lately, obviously with some of the YouTube issues we've had on the main channel, now having to go to the second channel. But you guys have been great. We've already have over 15,000 subscribers on the second channel. We are back to posting some videos on the original main channel as we try to get that whole thing figured out. But you guys have been great. This is a fantastic community, and you guys have been fantastic to see the Oracle, how I started it kind of middle of the year, and we've gotten consistently bigger and bigger each and every week. It's been awesome, and like you guys have been great, and getting to interact with people on here. It really is a fantastic community. So I want to say thank you from myself, from Ev, from Trey, from everybody at Guy Boston Sports. Thank you very much for all the support year-round. I hope you guys have a fantastic Thanksgiving with your families at home. It really is a perfect holiday. We get to eat all day. You get to stuff your face without judgment, or maybe some judgment, but we don't really give a shit on Thanksgiving. You get to drink all day if that's your thing, and obviously drink responsibly, and obviously just watch football and just chill. It's a great holiday. It's a great time for football fans. It's especially a great time for sports bettors. We got a lot of stuff to bet on. But yeah, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I hope you guys have a very happy Thanksgiving. Now, let's recap last week real quick before we dive into this week's picks. And we had a really nuclear week back in week 11. Week 12, not as nuclear. We did go okay in our single bets. We went 7-7 on our single bets. We're now 73, 45, and 3 on our single bets so far this year. That's absolutely crazy. Not good last week. Not bad though. So again, 7-7 on our single straight bets. However, we got our asses spanked on the parlays and teasers last week. We did not hit a single parlay or a single teaser. We're now 7-17 on parlays this year, but we had a couple big hits, so we actually still are profitable on the year with our parlays. And our teasers were now 12-15. We still are slightly profitable because, again, we've hit a lot of plus money teasers. But yeah, week 12 was a rough week, and I think it's not just me. I think if you look at anybody, I think you guys could probably agree. Teams like the Chiefs, the Texans, the Commanders, those teams kind of tanked a lot of parlays this week. So yeah, it is what it is, but we got a new week though. We got so many picks to dive into in this week's slate, guys. Let's not waste any more time. Let's jump right into our week 13 NFL picks. Jumping right into the outlier screen, guys, and kicking us off, our first pick in this week's slate, we have obviously our first Thanksgiving game with 12:30 p.m. kickoff on Thursday. We got Bears-Lions in Detroit, and I'm going with the Lions here on the spread -10. Pretty good value, -105 on ESPN Bet. Very good value, actually. And look, I know the number is very high, but this Lions team has just been so dominant, it's hard for me to go ahead and fade them here. They have been a covered darling this season, covering the spread overall at an 80% hit rate this season. At this line at -10, they're at a 50% cover rate this year. Pretty good. They've covered this line of -10 in 3 of their last 5 games with a push in that game against the Packers. But they've covered this line of -10 in a lot of their games this year, and they've just been going nuclear of late. This is now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight weeks they've won by double digits. And I just don't see why they won't be the same thing here versus the Bears team that, yes, they played better each of the last 2 weeks since they fired offensive coordinator Shane Waldron. They've looked better. They should have beat the Packers. They got a blocked field goal. And then last week versus the Vikings, they go to overtime in another game where they probably should have won. They've been playing a lot better, no doubt. But this Lions team is a buzzsaw in Detroit as well on Thanksgiving. I think there's been a lot of years where the Lions got embarrassed in these Thanksgiving games. And there's some vengeance coming here. I think Detroit absolutely rolls them here. The Bears defensively just aren't good. They're not as good as they should be, at least. You know, advertise all year long, oh, this is a really good Bears defense. And on numbers, they're not bad. 8th in scoring, obviously. Still a decent defense. But the last couple of weeks, their pass defense has been atrocious. Overall this year, they're 13th against the pass, 20th against the run. But over the last 3 weeks, this defense has been getting exposed. This is the number one, I think, the best offense in football right now. Numbers-wise, their second best scoring offense, 6th passing, 4th rushing. Any metric you want to pick out, the Lions are really good. I just don't, in the Lions defense, first scoring defense, their pass defense is okay, but they're really good against the run. They force turnovers. They're really efficient in the red zone. They're really good on third down. Like, any way you spin it, the Lions are the best team in the NFL right now, and I can't fade them. I know it's a high number. I faded them last week. I took the Colts plus 7.5, thinking, they can't cover these numbers every week, but they have been. I'm not going to go ahead and fade them here. The Bears are not a good football team. So give me the Lions here, minus 10 on Thanksgiving. All right, guys, next up, our second pick in this week's slate. We're moving on to our second Thanksgiving game. We have Giants-Cowboys, 4:30 p.m. kickoff. This is an ugly game, definitely the ugliest game of the Thanksgiving slate. I'm going with the Giants here plus 3.5, though. Everybody's obviously very high on the Cowboys coming off that impressive upset win over the Commanders last week. It was a crazy win in Dallas. Some people may be even thinking, hey, maybe Dallas, they're a tough team to play now. Cooper Rush, Mike McCarthy, has been talking some big games. Jerry Jones even talking about maybe extending him. If Jerry Jones extends Mike McCarthy, I think all Cowboys fans should just jump ship. I wouldn't blame you, because what the hell, Jerry Jones? I just can't confidently take the Cowboys to cover a number, especially as a favorite in this game. I think they're two bad teams, two bad defenses. The Giants defense at least has a decent pass rush. They have something to look forward to on the defense side of the football, but they're not a very good defense either. And both of these offenses are absolutely putrid bad. I just think it's going to be an ugly game, and I think at the end of the day, I think the Giants can at least keep the game within this number of plus 3.5 and keep this within a field goal game. I just don't think the Cowboys are good enough to go ahead and beat this team senselessly or win by a big number. Two bad football teams going head-to-head here. I think the Giants can cover the number of plus 3.5. What I'm really hoping for, honestly, is that Drew Lock plays. Tommy DeVito is questionable at the time of recording. If Drew Lock plays, this to me feels like a lock, and I feel like the line might even move up a little bit. I love them at plus 3.5. I do have a hunch that I think Drew Lock will probably play in this game, and if Drew Lock plays, I think the Giants will definitely cover this number. So I like him plus 3.5. Definitely love it more if Drew Lock plays, but even without Drew Lock, with DeVito, even if he's not 100%, I think the Giants can at least keep this game respectable and keep it close. This next game, though, guys, is my favorite game of the Thanksgiving slate. I think we're in for a special treat here. After, a so-so first game, I mean, the Lions are fun to watch, but the Bears aren't very good. And then obviously that stinker that is the Cowboys-Giants game. This Packers-Dolphins game is going to be a heck of a lot of fun here. 8:20 p.m. kickoff on Thursday to cap off an incredible Thanksgiving holiday. I'm going with the Dolphins on the money line here, plus 150. If you watch H2H, which if you haven't, please go check it out. It's the head-to-head pick show that Ev and I do. Please go make sure to check that out. I already gave out a couple of these picks already. But if you haven't watched, I was all over the Dolphins in that video. I love Miami in this spot. I'm going with them on the money line. It's plus 150 on ESPN Bet, also on Bet365. It's available on multiple sportsbooks. It's a plus money play wherever you spin it. I think Miami is trending in the right direction. They are red hot, and even when they've lost since Tua's return, they've been really impressive. Now, he's been back for 5 games. They've won 3 straight. They beat the Rams on Monday Night Football and then crushed the Raiders and Patriots in each of the last 2 weeks. But even in the first 2 games where they lost when Tua first came back, they played solid teams and lost in very tight games. They lost to Arizona 28-27 in a really tight one, and they lose to Buffalo off a miracle Tyler Bass field goal. Even in Buffalo, they normally get blown out by Buffalo. They gave Buffalo a really good show. On the Green Bay side of things, yes, they're coming off a really big win against a banged-up 49ers team, but they have been trending in a weird direction for me. They're a good team. There's no doubt about that. But I think Green Bay, they're a little sloppy on offense. Jordan Love is not too careful with the football. I mean, Packers fans should be used to it. Kind of reminds me of Brett Favre in the way that he used to protect the football. He's a gunslinger. It is what it is. But, all these mistakes eventually is going to bite Green Bay in the ass. And they've gotten lucky. Look at some of their games lately. I mean, they survived Houston 24-22. That was a really close one. They survived Jacksonville 30-27. That was a rough game for them. I mean, I know they won, but Jacksonville's kind of they are an awful team, and that game was really close. They get beat by Detroit, which, I mean, Detroit's beating everybody. You can't take too much shame in that. But they should have lost that Bears game. They barely win off a blocked field goal, and then they beat a banged-up 49ers team, which is like, all right, kudos, I guess, but they had Brandon Allen. They didn't have Kittle, no Ayuk. We know what this Niners team has been a disaster. I just have a lot of question marks with Green Bay. They're a shaky team to me. I think, obviously, I bet them the Niners money line last week. Unfortunately, I didn't know Brock Purdy wasn't going to play, although I think even if Purdy had played, that Niners team is just a disaster, and I'm done betting on them this year. I think Miami's trending in the right direction. There's also a more important game for Miami here. They need this win in a big way. The Dolphins are 5-6. They're still in the middle of the playoff hunt in the AFC, but they can't really afford many more losses here. Versus Green Bay, they're 8-3. If they lose this game, they're still very good spot to go ahead and make the playoffs in the NFC. But I think Miami is the play here. The one negative I have on Miami is the fact that they don't play well in cold weather. This game obviously is in Lambeau Field in late November. It's going to be cold, but I think Miami offensively, they have been on a tear lately since Tua's return. They look really good. And even defensively, the Dolphins this year, pretty solid, top 10 against the pass and the run. They're tied for 11th in scoring defense. I think they can give Green Bay a run for their money and force some turnovers here. So I like the Dolphins on the money line, plus 150. Really good value there. And then my second pick from this game, I'm going Dolphins team total over 20.5 points. Is from minus 125 on DraftKings. Again, they have been on a run since Tua's return. The last 5 games with Tua Tagovailoa, they've cashed this over in all 5 games, a 100% hit rate, averaging 29 points per game over those 5 games. So some really good stuff for Miami. I'm just not sold on Green Bay's defense. I know from a statistical standpoint, they're solid. 10th overall in scoring. They're 10th against the pass, 13th against the run. I'm just not sold on them. I think Miami should be able to score. And again, if we think the Dolphins, like I do, they're going to win this game, they're going to have to score probably at least 3 touchdowns here. I think over 20.5 is a pretty surefire bet here, especially if you're like me, and you think Miami's going to go ahead and win this game, they're going to score 21 points if they're going to win. Even if they don't win, I think 21 points is a really solid bet for Miami. They've been scoring in bunches lately. The Packers, like I said, I don't trust their defense, and they thought they're a stranger to give up this line. Teams have scored 21 or more points in 5 games against the Packers this year. I know that's not the majority of the time, but the Green Bay Packers, they've had a little bit of an easy schedule in certain spots. You know, some of the teams like the Colts, the Titans, those are the teams that haven't been able to score on them. The Bears, those are the teams that haven't been able to crack that number. But when they played solid teams like the Dolphins, comparable offenses, they've given up a good amount of points here, even 27 to the Jaguars. So I have question marks on this Packers defense. I think Miami can go ahead and take advantage of. So I have Dolphins money line and Dolphins team total over 20.5 points. All right, guys, our 5th pick in this week's league. Now moving on from Thanksgiving on to the Black Friday game, Raiders, Chiefs, 3 p.m. kickoff. I don't like this game. I was going to make it a no bet, but it is a Black Friday game. I felt I had to have a line on it. The Chiefs are 10-point favorites. They have proven over and over and over again they cannot cover these big numbers. They played Carolina last week. I thought they were going to do it. They didn't. They can't cover these big numbers. They did cash the team total over last week, though, so I'm going to go ride that pick again. I had it last week. I'm going to do it again this week. We have Chiefs team total over 25.5 here against the Raiders here. It's minus 148 on DraftKings, so there's a little bit of juice on here. But the data is solid overall. They've cashed this over in 3 of their last 5 games, including last week versus Carolina, averaging 24.8 points per game. They have played the Raiders once this year, and they scored 27 points back on October 27th. About a month ago, they scored 27. They've cashed the over in 2 of their last 3 meetings against the Raiders, a 67% hit rate, averaging 24 points per game over their last 3 meetings. And these 2 teams met last year around the same time, November 26th, and the Chiefs scored 31 points in that matchup. Overall, Kansas City, a 64% hit rate this year on the over. 7 out of 11 games have cashed it, averaging 24.55 points per game this season. Like I said, the Chiefs struggled to cover the number, but I think they could go ahead and score a decent amount of points. Again, they did score 27 already once this year against the Raiders. And the Raiders were in a little bit of a better spot back then than they are now. The Raiders defense, 29th in scoring. They're 12th against the pass and 15th against the run. The numbers aren't terrible. They don't force any turnovers. This pass rush is almost non-existent. And Kansas City, on the flip side, 10th best scoring offense, 4th in first downs, 12th in passing, 18th in rushing. But this team is starting to get going here. You see that guys like DeAndre Hopkins are starting to gel in with this team. Noah Gray has emerged as a really solid other tight end option next to Travis Kelce. They're getting healthier. This team, it's the Chiefs, guys, and I just think the Raiders, I just don't see it. I don't see where the Raiders keep this game close. I don't see how the Chiefs don't score at least 4 touchdowns in this game. But Kansas City's been weird all year long, so who knows. But I do like the Chiefs team total here over 25.5. All right, next up, guys, our 6th pick in this week's slate. We're now moving into the Sunday slate, our regular Sunday slate. We have Cardinals, Vikings, 1 p.m. kickoff. I'm going with the under here, 45.5. I don't like either side in this game. The Vikings, although they have still won consistently, they're 9-2. They've been a weird team. Since their bye week, they've been wishy-washy, and I just don't trust them to cover this number. The Cardinals, though, the same thing. Like there have been times this year where Arizona's been really impressive, and times like last week where they've been really disappointing. The Cardinals won a really good run. They get blanked last week by Seattle. Only scored 6 points in that one. In Minnesota, again, they've struggled. I mean, they've won their games, but, 3-point win over the Bears in overtime. They barely beat Jacksonville. I don't know. I don't think either of these teams are trustworthy from a spread perspective, so I think the under is the way to go. So the under is 45.5. We're getting it from minus 110 odds here. The data looks pretty good for the Vikings this year. They've cashed this line of 45.5 in 64% of their games this season. So the under has been a pretty consistent cash, especially at this line for Minnesota. And it makes sense. They're a really solid defensive team. That's no secret. You look at overall the Vikings' 5th best scoring defense in the NFL this year. First against the run. They are 20th against the pass. But overall, top 5 pass rush. This team blitzes like crazy. I do think this is a really good Vikings defense that should be able to keep Arizona from scoring a ton of points here. And on the flip side, although Arizona defensively nowhere near the numbers that Minnesota is, this Cardinals defense has gotten better and better each and every week. And over the last 4 or 5 weeks, they've actually been one of the better defenses in the NFL. They're tied for 11th overall in scoring defense. They're 20th against the pass, 17th against the rush. But like I said, over the last 3 or 4 weeks, this defense has gotten better and better and better. And if you don't believe me, just look at the numbers here. Now, they've covered this line of 45.5, the under, in 45% of the games, but each of their last 3 games, they've cashed the under. You see 16 points versus Seattle, 6 points versus the Jets, 9 points versus Chicago. And now you could go ahead and say, well, that's because who they're playing, and totally fair. But the Vikings offense has not been lighting anybody on fire either lately. They scored 30 on Chicago, but 23 versus the Titans, 12 versus the Jaguars, 21, 20. The last time they had a really great offensive showing, the Bears, and then, I guess the Lions game, but they were down big in that game. And they kind of stormed back, but they were getting blown out for a good chunk of that game. I just think the Vikings are really good defensively. The Cardinals offense is inconsistent. And on the flip side, the Vikings offense is also, they're very similar where the Vikings are also inconsistent. Now, the Cardinals defense is nowhere near as good as Minnesota's, but they have been playing better. I just don't see a lot of points being scored here. I think it's going to be a low-scoring kind of ugly game. Give me the under here, 45.5. Guys, we are already 6 picks into this week's slate. Guys, if you're still watching at this point in the video, please go and comment Happy Thanksgiving down below, guys. Let's spread that holiday cheer in the comment section. I always love to see those who watch through the entire video. So if you are still watching, I know we still have a lot of picks to go through, but if you're still watching through this point, guys, comment Happy Thanksgiving down below in the comment section. Really do appreciate you guys. And make sure to leave a like and also hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. All right, guys, next up we got Chargers, Falcons, 1 p.m. kickoff on Sunday. I have 2 picks coming from this game. Our first pick, we have Chargers -2. Chargers obviously coming off a tough loss on Monday Night Football against the Ravens, but I thought, I've been against the Chargers. I've been betting against them quite a bit lately, and I've been wrong. Like in the Bengals game was kind of wrong there, but they played well enough against Baltimore where I think this team, look, they're a good football team. They are legit. I know I shit on them quite a bit because of their schedule, but they beat the Bengals. They hung in there with the Ravens. They had a lead. They blew it, which typical Charger fashion. But I do like the Chargers in this bounce back spot against Atlanta. Atlanta is just a team that I don't know what's going on. They are coming off their bye week, which is worth something to note. But this Falcons team is just not trending in the right direction at all. Offensively, they're solid, but they're not great. And defensively, this team, for all the big names they have, this is not a good defensive team. They're not getting any better. If anything, they're getting worse. The 24th scoring defense in the NFL, 26th against the pass, 19th against the run. They have no pass rush whatsoever. 32nd in the NFL in sacks, 31st in QB hits, 28th in tackles for loss. Just not a very good defense at all. And offensively, like I said, they're 5th in passing yards, 14th in rushing yards. There's some good metrics here and there, but overall, this is not a good Falcons team. And the Chargers, on the flip side, even through these last 2 weeks where they've given up a lot of points, this is still a solid Charger defense. Now, is it as good as it was early in the year when they were like the #1 scoring defense? No, and we all knew that. I think I at least knew that, but this is still a solid defense overall. They should be able to slow the Falcons down a little bit. On the flip side, I think the Chargers offense should be able to score a healthy amount of points here. So giving the Chargers on the spread -2. They've covered the spread overall at a 64% hit rate this year, and this line of -2 at a 64% hit rate this year. They actually covered the spread in 4 straight games going into that Ravens game. So this has been a good cover team all year long. The Falcons, on the flip side, they're 45% against the spread, although they are 55% against this line of +2. But like I said, the Falcons just losing to the Saints, getting crushed by the Broncos. They're coming off the bye week, and they do have a lot of good pieces on this team, but I just think the Chargers are overall the better team. Coming off a loss, I think the Chargers need a little bounce back spot here. Yeah, they beat the Bengals, but that wasn't a great game for them either. So I think this is a game for the Chargers not only to win, but also to kind of redefine that, hey, we are a really good defensive team. Let me go ahead and show you. So give me the Chargers here -2. And my second pick for this game, I actually like the over, which I know is a little bit contradictory to what I just said. I like the over 47.5 in this game. I do think a healthy amount of points are going to be scored in this game. The Chargers will do most of the heavy lifting. I could see this being somewhere in the ballpark of like 30 points for the Chargers. And I think although the Chargers defense is good, we do know there's now cracks in the armor here in Atlanta. They have a good enough offense where they should be able to score at least some points. I could very well see this being somewhere in the ballpark of like a 31-17 game, 34-17, something like that. I think the Chargers are going to score a healthy amount of points here, but I think the Falcons should score enough to push this number to the over. These are 2 solid offenses with, the Chargers defense has some cracks. The Falcons defense, like I already said, is not very good. So I like the over here, 47.5 in this one. All right, guys, next up, we got Colts Patriots, 1 p.m. kickoff on Sunday. I'm going with the Colts here, -2.5. I'm not overthinking it, guys. This Patriots team, they are my team. I'm a diehard Patriots fan, but this is not a good Patriots team, guys. And the Colts have something to play for here. They're 5-7, but they have a realistic shot to still sneak into the playoffs here. Looking at this AFC playoff field, I think 9 wins can possibly get you in the 7th seed. And the Colts, look at the remaining schedule. It's very realistic they could get there. They're 5-7. They need to go about 4-1, maybe better, obviously. 10 wins would be better. But at least if we need to get that 9-win total, they need to go 4-1 the rest of the way. I think it's a really realistic thing for them because their schedule is pretty easy. They have the Broncos next week, which is their only kind of tough game left. But they have the Patriots this week. And then after that Broncos game, they have the Titans, the Giants, and the Jaguars to close out the season. They're also getting healthier, which is one of the big problems with them. They have not been healthy all year long between Richardson and Taylor in the offensive line and their defense. They had a lot of injuries, but they're finally getting healthy at the right time, and their schedule kind of breaks their way. The Colts, they have to win, though. They lose this game, I think that's probably done for their playoff chances. They'd have to win out the rest of the way to even have a shot. But I think the Patriots are not a very good team. This is very undisciplined. And Jerod Mayo, I always love him, as a player and his contribution to the Patriots, but I just don't think he's a good coach. I don't know if I trust him. The mistakes this team, they're so undisciplined. The penalties, the offensive line play. Drake May is the only reason why this team is even watchable at this point. Not a good defense. Offensively, yeah, May makes them exciting, but even on offense, they're not great. Just not a good team, and the Colts are, like I said, 16th in defense, 21st in scoring, but this Patriots defense is like Viagra for opposing offenses. They make teams look good. The Colts obviously got blown out last week by the Lions. Big game for the Colts here. I just don't see the Patriots hanging in here. I know it's a low spread. Maybe New England could squeeze something out, but I think this game means so much more to the Colts and for the Patriots. They're just trying to get through the rest of this season, and hopefully Drake May doesn't get hurt, and that's kind of, I think, the only thing they're thinking of at this point is draft pick, getting Drake May through the season healthy, and that's it. This team's just not good. I just don't see how they win this game. So give me the Colts here, -2.5. All right, guys, next up we got Titans Commanders, 1 p.m. kickoff on Sunday. And call me a sucker, but I just feel like the Commanders have to bounce back here. Commanders -5.5 is my pick, -110 on Caesars. Available on multiple sports books for varying odds. Call me crazy, call me an idiot. I know the Commanders have been trending in the absolute wrong direction. And I called this when I bet them the Eagles game, right? I bet the Eagles against them on the Thursday Night Football game. I said this is a team trending in the wrong direction. I bet the Steelers also. But I was one of the suckers, and I bet against the Cowboys last week, and obviously they were massively disappointing in that game. They have now failed to cover the spread in 3 straight games, and they failed to cover this number of 5.5 in 5 straight games. This Commanders team is definitely trending in the wrong direction. The Titans are also coming off a very impressive win over the Texans last week. But overall, I can't take the Titans. This Titans team, defensively, they're really solid, but offensively, they're an absolute disaster. And I know they beat Houston last week, but I think that had more to do with Houston's issues than maybe the Titans' skill level or talent level. Washington needs to win this game because if they lose this game, they almost fall right out of playoff contention. They've already lost the division. I think the division's out of reach. They're now, 2.5 games or 2 games back of the Eagles. I think the division's out of reach at this point. At this point, you now have to be a wild card team, and there's so many good teams in the NFC right now. You really can't afford any more losses here. They do have a couple of easier games on the schedule remaining, but they need this one. So I think Commanders -5.5. This is still a good team. They can be a good team. It's just offensively they've kind of fallen apart. And whether that be because of Jaden Daniels' injuries or whether that be because Cliff Kingsbury is a play caller, and we've seen this before with Kingsbury in the past. But, overall, the Commanders, they still have a top 5 offense in a lot of key categories. The Titans' defense, although they are first against the pass, 8th against the rush, they are 26th in scoring. This Titans' offense is just not that good, 28th in scoring. I know the Commanders' defense isn't all that great, but I do think Washington can go ahead and pull this one out. I think Washington will hang around. I don't know if they're a playoff team anymore to me, but I think they're going to go ahead and have a bounce back here. They need the bounce back. Give me Commanders here -5.5 at home, too. I know it's kind of, I think everybody probably has the same thought process here. The Commanders have to win, and that's kind of been the thought process the last couple of weeks. But I do think Tennessee is not a good team. I know they beat the Texans last week, but I think that was a little bit of fool's gold. I don't trust the Titan team at all. So give me the Commanders here -5.5. All right, guys, next up we got Seahawks Jets, 1 p.m. kickoff on Sunday. I'm going with Seattle here, -1.5. Don't overthink this, guys. I don't know why the sports would continue to give the Jets so much value. Seattle coming off a really nice win against the Cardinals. They also beat the Niners the week before that. Seattle's defense is starting to trend in the right direction. They're holding opponents pretty solidly here. Again, 17 points they gave up to the Niners, 6 points to the Cardinals. Their defense trending in the right direction, and we know this offense with Geno Smith healthy and DK Metcalf healthy and all that stuff, this offense can be electric. Why are the Jets only 1.5 point underdogs? I know they're home here. I know they are coming off the bye week, But this Jets team is a disaster. They're awful. Now you have all the rumors that they might cut Aaron Rodgers, and Rodgers doesn't want to be here, but he actually does, and blah, blah, blah. It's a disaster. The Jets are not a good team. I'm over it. I'm done falling for it. The sportsbook continue to overvalue them, and I don't know why. I know they have all the names of Rodgers and Adams and Wilson and Hall, and on the defense, Gardner and Reddick. But let's just be honest. This is a horrible team. They're not good. They should just bottom out at this point. They're not making the playoffs. Their season's over. They'd have to win out. And even then, they probably don't have the necessary tiebreakers. This Jets team's just a disaster, and I'm not going to overthink this one. It's also a Geno Smith revenge game. I don't know if this is his first time back against the Jets. It's definitely one of the few. He hasn't been there that many times since he left. He's definitely going to have something to prove here on this one. If you don't think he still holds all that Jet stuff, close, near, and dear, I'm sure he does. I'm sure that he's not still pissed off about how all that stuff went down in New York. So I like the Seahawks here. Again, their defense is really starting to shape up. This Jets offense is putrid. Their offensive line is a disaster. And then on the offensive side of things, like I said, Seattle, second in passing yards, is a big play offense that can run the ball. I just don't think the Jets are going to be able to do anything here. So give me the Seahawks here, -1.5. I'm not going to overthink it. I know there are some metrics that do favor the Jets here, but I do think overall Seattle is clearly the better team. And the Jets, this is a dumpster fire. I'm not overthinking it. Give me the Seahawks -1.5. Next up, guys, AFC North battle, Steelers, Bengals, 1 p.m. kickoff. Guys, again, don't overthink it. You're giving us Mike Tomlin as an underdog on the road in the AFC North. Give me the Steelers on the money line here, +135 right now on Caesars. I'm also available on multiple sports books for varying odds. We want the Bengals to happen. I understand. Their Bengals obviously are coming off a bye week here. The Steelers, kind of a mini bye week. They play Thursday night against the Browns. They had a little bit of an extended rest, not the full bye week, but a little extra rest coming into this one. And I know the Steelers offense is trending in the wrong direction, but this Bengals defense is, like I said about the Patriots earlier, this Bengals defense is Viagra for opposing offense. Your offense has been struggling. Go play the Bengals. You'll probably get yourself right. Just Mike Tomlin as underdog, man. I don't really understand why the Bengals are favored here. They're 4-7. They lose all these close games. The Steelers, I know they lost to the Browns, but they beat the Ravens. They beat the Commanders, some really good wins, and then obviously they lose that snow game. But let's be honest, if it wasn't for the weather, the Steelers probably go ahead and win that one. Their offense isn't great, but their defense is just so damn good. They should be able to at least give Joe Burrow and this Bengals offense some trouble. On the flip side, this Bengals defense is so bad, I just don't see. I mean, Russell Wilson should be able to throw some touchdowns on this team. The Bengals 28th scoring defense, 23rd against the pass, 21st against the run. I just don't see how the Steelers don't win this game. And you're giving me plus money. It feels like a little bit of a trap. I'll be honest, but the Steelers, the way they're playing, and I know the offense has been great, but this Bengals team, it's unfortunate because Joe Burrow is playing at an insane level, and they've lost so many these one-score games. But I think the Bengals are done. Stick a fork in them. And the numbers, the insights provided by Outlier, the Pittsburgh Steelers are now 8-1 in their last 9 games versus bottom 10 scoring defense. So this Steelers team, they take advantage of the spots when they have them. Give me the Steelers on the money line here, +135. Next up, guys, we got Rams Saints, 4:05 p.m. kickoff. We're now moving into the later slate on Sunday. Give me the Rams here -3. They're actually plus money right now if you can get them for like on ESPN Bet +102. Guys, do not buy into the Saints. Do not. Please don't. I'm just telling you as a friend, as a video host, as a YouTuber, please don't buy the Saints team. They're not good. I know they've won a couple games. They're also coming off a bye week, but let's be honest, they beat a struggling Falcons team barely, and they beat a Browns team where they're just so wishy-washy. And I love Jameis, but he has those games where he's Jameis, and that was a Jameis game, although he did throw over 300 yards in that game. Let's not overhype a couple of wins against the Browns and the Falcons. Let's not forget, this team had lost 7 consecutive games, including some losses to teams like the Carolina Panthers, which is really embarrassing. This is not a good Saints team. They never really were. Those first 2 games, they beat a bad Panthers team, and then they beat a Cowboys team that we now know is not that great. This is a fool's gold Saints team. They always were. I was never in on this team, and I'm still not. They had the new coach bump and all that stuff, but the Rams have something to play for. The Rams legitimately could still win the division. They could still make the playoffs. The Saints, their season's over. Pack it up. It's over. They're not making the playoffs. The only chance for the Saints is to win the division, and that's just not happening. This Rams team has had the 7th toughest schedule in the NFL. So this team is battle tested. They've gone through the ringer. They obviously got blown out on Sunday Night Football to the Eagles. We did call that one. I said Eagles -2.5, although the other picks I had in the video were not 100% right. This team's been through the ringer, man, and they've played well enough that they're still in the mix for the playoffs here. This is not a good Saints team. The Rams should go ahead and absolutely crush them. The Saints, they just have no weapons. I mean, no Chris Olave, no Rashid Shaheed. The offensive line is still banged up, and you're relying on Derek Carr. Mr. Dink and Dunk himself. He'll be cut from the Saints after this year. The Saints defense tied for 20th. They're 30th against the pass. That right there, they've already traded Marshawn Lattimore. They don't even have him on the defense anymore. They're 30th against the pass against a top 10 passing offense. The Rams are going to run through this team. It's not even up for debate. The Rams are going to crush them. You can get them at -3 for plus money. Absolutely throw your house on that pick. That's what I'm doing. I think the Rams crush them here. Way too good of a line. Hop on it while you still can because I think the market will probably adjust. This Saints team, people are overreacting to a couple of wins against some shaky teams. Give me the Rams here -3. All right, guys, next up, which I think is probably the game of the week, we have Eagles-Ravens, 4:25 p.m. kickoff. Give me the Eagles on the money line here, +143 right now on Caesars, +140 on ESPN Bet. Like I said in my Sunday Night Football video, guys, I'm not going to fade the Eagles until they prove me wrong. I'm going to keep riding the hot hand here. I know the Ravens are coming off an impressive Monday night win against the Chargers, but they're on a little bit of a short rest because they played on Monday night. A little bit of short rest, and now they have to go and play this Eagles team that has been absolutely red hot over the last month and a half. Since their bye week, the Eagles now, you can argue how they had a tough schedule and all that stuff, but they have been crushing teams. They've been winning steadily, and they've had some impressive wins. I mean, obviously, they beat the Browns and the Giants and the Jaguars and the Cowboys. And yeah, we know that they've had some games against bad teams, but they beat the Rams. They crushed the Rams on Sunday night. They beat the Commanders pretty good on Thursday, which kind of started Washington's downfall. And the Bengals team, which a lot of people still seem to have a lot of faith in, they crushed Cincinnati 37-17 in that one. The Eagles defense is legit. They finally found it out. All these young pieces they added, these young rookie corners, they're figuring it out. They're seventh best. I'm sorry, this offense, sixth scoring defense in the NFL. Not too different there. Third against the pass, seventh against the run. Tie for, I mean, any metric you want to go with, this Eagles defense is legitimate. And the Ravens, for as good as they are, I think we've seen now a couple times this year, this Ravens team can be beaten. They do bleed, and they've got some holes. We know their offense, we know Derrick Henry and all that stuff, but I think the Eagles defense is good enough to slow them down. And on the flip side, I don't think the Ravens defense is good enough to slow the Eagles down. They're 27th in scoring. They're a pretty solid run defense, which obviously with the Eagles running attack, that will come into play there. But the Eagles passing, they haven't had to throw the ball much because of Saquon Barkley, but they can. They have A.J. Brown. They have Goddard. Hopefully they have Devontae Smith back in this game. What this game comes down to, guys, I think the Eagles defense is good enough to make a couple stops and force Lamar and Derrick Henry in this Ravens offense into some uncomfortable situations, where on the flip side, I don't know the Baltimore Ravens defense can do the same against this Eagles offense. Next to Detroit and maybe Buffalo, I think those are the other two teams, but the Eagles, those three teams, the Bills, the Bills, the Eagles, and the Lions have looked like the best teams over the last month or so. I'm not fading Philadelphia. You're giving the Eagles when the run they're on for plus money. I know Baltimore's a good team too, and they're rushing attack and everything, but I think Baltimore has more weaknesses than Philadelphia does. So give me the Eagles here on the money line, plus 143. All right, guys, 2 picks left before we move on to the teaser and parlay portion of today's video. Our second to last straight bet. We're, again, not overthinking this, guys. Sometimes lines, there's not traps. They're as simple as they are. We're going Bucs, Panthers, 4:05 p.m. kickoff. We're going Tampa Bay here, -5.5. Pretty much go watch my video last week for what I said about the Giants game, and it all applies here. The Buccaneers have something to play for here. The Bucs are legit. It sucks because if it wasn't for the injuries, this Bucs team would be in a much better spot. I still think Tampa Bay is going to, A, make the playoffs, but B, probably win the NFC South. I think this Buccaneers team is legit. Now they have Mike Evans back. They're starting to get a little healthier. They crushed New York last week. And this Panthers team, look, they had a really good game last week. They've actually been trending in the right direction. Bryce Young's actually looked a lot better over the last few weeks. They've covered the spread in each of the last 3 games, too. I mean, they still aren't winning. They beat the Saints, which is a really good one. They beat the Giants, another really good one. And they lost to the Chiefs, but that was a game where Carolina really could have won. So Carolina is trending in the right direction. They're definitely playing better, but it's still Carolina, and although they've been playing better, they beat the Saints, they beat the Giants, and the Chiefs, who, although the Chiefs, they're the Chiefs, let's be honest, Kansas City has been struggling all year long with covering these big spreads. They play down to their competition. It's just what the Chiefs have been doing. This is still Carolina. This is still not a very good team. In Tampa Bay, they have so much at stake in this game. They're the way better team. I think the Bucs go ahead and roll here against the Panthers. The 4th best scoring offense against the 32nd scoring defense. This Panthers defense is just not good. On the flip side, the Bucs defense isn't great, but this Panthers offense, not that great either. I just don't see Carolina keeping this game close. I think the public's going to be all over Carolina because, when a team plays the Chiefs like they do, like, oh man, Carolina, they played the Chiefs. They've covered the spread 3 straight games. They've won 2 in a row. They almost beat Kansas City. The public's going to be all over Carolina in this one, and I think the right play is Tampa Bay. I think the Bucs roll here. I think they crush the Panthers. It's still not a good Carolina team. Give me Tampa Bay here, -5.5. In our 16th and final straight bet, guys, sticking with the theme of this video, don't overthink it. We're going Broncos -5.5 here, hosting the Cleveland Browns. We had a lot of upsets last week, and I think that might scare some people here, but I think there's some of these games, like the last one, like this one, like a couple of the ones we talked about earlier, where you just don't overthink it. The Broncos minus 5.5 is the absolute play. Why they're only a 5.5 point favorite is beyond me. Yeah, the Browns are coming off that Thursday Night Football win against the Steelers. Impressive, yeah, but the weather definitely gave them a little bit of an assist there. This Browns team is just not good. I know I'm a Jameis fan, and I love Jameis, but this is not a good Jameis matchup here. The Broncos offense trending in the right direction. Bo Nix is now the front runner for the Rookie of the Year award. Their offense is really starting to hit a corner. They've got some like Audric Esteem and stuff like that. Other guys are finally starting to show up for this Broncos offense. Really good offensive line, top 10 in sacks and quarterback hits. Really good offensive line. They protect the football. Sean Payton, claps for you, man. He's done a great job turning this Bronco situation looked horrible with Russell Wilson and that dead cap and all that stuff, and now they've turned it around, and they're one of the most impressive teams of the year. And obviously, the key thing here is their defense, the second best scoring defense, first in red zone efficiency, ninth against the pass, sixth against the rush, tied for first in yards per play. They have the best pass rush in the NFL, first in sacks, second in QB hits. And obviously, we know this Browns offensive line is horrendous. I think Jameis is going to get spanked in this game. And I love Jameis Winston. He's a great guy. But again, this is what kind of happens. The media is going to take that Browns win, and I think people are probably going to be like, hey, Jameis Winston, they've beaten now the Steelers and the Ravens. This Browns team, they're scary. This Browns team is not good. Let's not overthink this. The Broncos have been hot. They've been crushing teams left and right. They're early in the year, they're just kind of winning. Now they're destroying teams. Actually, they've kind of been destroying teams all year long. Beat the Raiders by 10. They beat the Falcons 38-6. They should have beaten the Chiefs. Yeah, they got smoked by the Ravens, but that Ravens loss has been the only real blemish on their record, other than maybe the Seahawks lost early in the season. They play teams tight. They play teams well, and this team has been solid. 75% cover rate overall this year. 50% of this line on minus 5.5. I think the Broncos roll here on Monday Night Football. Give me Denver here, minus 5.5. All right, guys, now move on to the parlay and teaser portion of this week's video. Last week, we got absolutely rinsed in parlays and teasers, but I think we're going to be much better this time around. Starting off with the parlays, we have a 4-leg parlay. This is my must-win parlay. Really good value, too. These are all 4 teams that I think absolutely, they're all favorites, obviously, but they're all the 4 teams that I think should absolutely win their games. If they lose their games, I'll be absolutely shocked. We have Commanders money line against the Titans. We have Colts money line against the Patriots. We have Rams money line against the Saints. And we have Broncos money line against the Browns. Again, I talked about all these games already. I think I picked all these teams spread-wise in those games as well. But we're going money line here, a little safer. We don't have to worry about numbers. It's a 4-leg parlay plus 453 odds. And these are all teams that are obviously favorites, but teams that have really favorable matchups as well. For plus 453, really good spot there. Next up, guys, we have our Thanksgiving special. It's a 3-leg parlay. It's my favorite picks from each game of Thanksgiving. We have Lions minus 10. We have Giants plus 3.5. And we have Dolphins money line here. You parlay all 3 together, you get a parlay of plus 808 odds. Over plus 800 for just 3 legs seems like really good value to me. Love the spot here. Again, I think the Lions roll. I think the Giants keep it close. I think the Dolphins will absolutely win that game. So we have plus 808 odds, 3-leg parlay. All right, guys, and our third parlay in today's video, our third and final parlay, I should say, we have we're going big game hunting here, guys. 6-leg parlay plus 6,076 odds. Again, it's just kind of parlaying some of my favorite plays from the week. We have Seahawks minus 2, Colts minus 2.5, Steelers money line. We have Buccaneers minus 6, Rams money line, and we have Eagles money line. You parlay all 6 together, you get a parlay of plus 6,076 odds. Big game hunting, but hey, it's possible. Moving on to our must-win teaser, guys. If you don't know what this is, every single week on this NFL Oracle video series, we do a must-win teaser where we have, it is what it is. It's our must-win teaser. It's a teaser that must win. But we do a giveaway contest every week. If this teaser hits, you got to comment must-win down below. And if this teaser hits, one lucky commenter will be selected with a free $20 Amazon gift card. It's very simple. Again, comment must-win, and if the teaser hits, one lucky commenter will be selected with a free $20 Amazon gift card. Our must-win teaser for this week, we're playing it simple here. 3 legs, plus 130 odds here. Pretty good value, too. So we're getting the Lions. We got 2 Thanksgiving picks and then a Sunday pick. We're going Lions minus 3. Again, I think the Lions roll here, but we're getting a little safer here at minus 3. We got Dolphins plus 10.5. I think Miami wins the game outright, but let's take a little insurance here. Even if they lose, I think Miami keeps the game close. So plus 10.5 here. And then we got Steelers, Bengals game, we're going Steelers plus 10. So, I think Steelers, again, are going to win that game. But even if they don't, we get a little bit of insurance here. As long as they keep the game within double digits, we should be good to go. So, Lions minus 3, Dolphins plus 10.5, and Steelers plus 10. You put those 3 together, you get a teaser of plus 130 odds. All right, guys, in our second teaser, we're going with our holiday tease. It's all 4 picks coming from the Thanksgiving game and the Black Friday game. We're all totals, too. So, we have the over in the Raiders-Chiefs game on that Black Friday game. We get now the line is at 42.5. It's a 6.5 point teaser plus 230 odds. We're getting the over now at 36 in that Chiefs Raiders game. Dolphins Packers now get the over at 40.5. Giants Cowboys we get the over at 30.5, and Lions Bears get the under at 55. Next up, guys, we have our big tease. It's a 4-leg teaser, minus 140 odds, a 13-point tease. We're getting a lot of value here, guys. We're just kind of keeping these games simple. Like all these games, just trying to keep them close here. Last week lost because of the Commanders, obviously, but this week we're looking pretty good. So we have the Dolphins now at plus 16.5. If you can't tell, I love Miami here, but we're getting extra insurance here. We now get them at plus 16.5. Really good spot. We're getting the Chiefs at plus 1, so really good value there. All Kansas City has to do is win, and we should be good to go. We're getting the Colts at plus 10.5. Even if they lose, the Patriots are not winning by double digits. I'm sorry to break that to you guys. And then we have Buccaneers plus 7. Even if they somehow lose to the Panthers, they keep it within a touchdown. We should be good to go. That's for minus 140 odds. Really good lines there. And then our final teaser, guys, we have a pretty big one. It's a excuse me here. I forgot how many legs I put in here. 5-leg teaser, 6-point tease, plus 400 odds here. Again, we're taking a big swing here. We're getting the Eagles at plus 9 against Baltimore. The Rams plus 3.5 against the Saints. The Broncos plus 0.5 point against the Browns. They just have to win the game and they're good. We get Commanders plus 0.5 point. All they have to do is win and they're good. And we get Seahawks at plus 4 against the Jets. We made it, guys. Those are all of our picks in this week's NFL slate. As always, guys, thank you very much for watching one more time. Please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I hope you guys enjoy the holiday. Really, enjoy the food and the football and everything, but make sure to reflect and be thankful for what you have. Not to preach here, but Thanksgiving is obviously a fun holiday, but it's also about reflecting and being thankful and, not to get sappy, but I am thankful for all you guys and everything here. I'm thankful for Ev for all the opportunities he's given me here at God Boston Sports. So, guys, let's enjoy that holiday. Eat a ton of turkey. Watch a ton of football. If you're into it, drink a lot of beer, but be responsible, of course. But yeah, really, really looking forward to the holiday, guys. We'll be back next week with another NFL Oracle video. But until then, hope you're all winners. Enjoy Thanksgiving.